Hi everyone, just real quick before the episode starts, post recording Joey hopping on here. First of all, I forgot to mention it, but at the end of the episode I need your guys' input, so please stay till the end because I want to ask you guys something to do with Polderpark and the future of the next area, so please give me your input on that at the end. Second of all, this is a recording that I did 2 days ago, and it didn't go entirely great. Audio isn't great, and image quality also isn't what I meant it to be, but as you might be able to hear by the sound of this recording and the quality of it, I'm currently unable to record without a fan pointing directly at my face. It is 32 degrees Celsius in my house because I live in a small one-bedroom apartment in the Netherlands during a heat wave, and it is unbearable. So sorry for that if it sounds a bit weird, but the other option is that it sounds like this, so I guess you're better off with this. Anyhow, enjoy the video. Over to past me. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Polderpark, where today we're going to take a look at the newly added Boardwalk area, which you can see to the left here. It is what I would call done, though it does still need some finishing touches, so I'll get to that in a bit, but there is at least enough done, and it's rounded off well enough that I feel comfortable showing you and taking you on a little tour. Starting here actually at Main Street, because last episode, or at least the last full episode, not last week's little update, there were still a few outlines here that suggested a building, and now there's actually a building here to kind of round off this side of Main Street. Why are you screaming like that? That's annoying. There is a building here to kind of round off Main Street and transition into the Boardwalk area. Now this was inspired by a few pictures I found online of kind of, well, I say classic American boardwalks buildings. They're just this kind of cheap painted wood, and in this case it has a little, well, I guess it's almost Art Deco or something, elements on the top with the rounded off corner and the big circle on top. I genuinely don't know what to call it. It's just a weird awning, I think. But it's called the Octo Shack. Now this is a little gift shop that houses a bunch of random stuff. This is the gift shop clutter by well, I think I used a few different sets here. Most of these are by Plastic Swans, though there are also a few by Parker 8-Ball and Anubis, or Anubis 22340, I should say, which does make up most of the interior of the shop. I didn't do a lot except for just sticking some tacky, well, I would say art, but it's just decals on the walls, adding a little counter here, adding this legend on the countertop, and other than that, it's just gift shop clutter to make it feel rounded off. This really does help to add a lot of life to the park. I did say I wasn't going to do any interiors for this park, but for this one it felt like it needed it with its open side windows and stuff like that. And comparing this to the Just a Memento we have over there, which has no interior at all, this really does make it feel a lot more lively and well, lived in. Sorry, I keep bumping my mouse, I hope it's not making you sick. It does make it feel a lot more lived in and rounded off again. So that's the Octo Shack, and right next to that is the Boardwalk. I made this entrance gate based off the kind of ironwork gates. Well, I think most piers in the USA have them, but it's this kind of vintage circle or arch shape. Now, I did have a few different designs for this, one of which you're going to see in a bit, actually, because it's still on the other side of the Boardwalk. But yeah, I ended up with this design on this side because it felt sort of classy, or at least a little vintage, with its muted colors and the font as well. I'm not the biggest fan of the font, but it is the best one we have in the game right now that isn't text like this one. So it'll have to do for a bit until we get more different letters. Now moving on to the Boardwalk, we get to the reason that this is simultaneously my favorite and least favorite area of the park thus far. I really like the vibe this gives off, with its kind of budget, vintage. Well, we call it vintage now. It's really just dilapidated state in a lot of places. It's old, and it's not afraid to show that it's old. But I found out that I haven't really nailed that style yet. So for most of this boardwalk, I fell back on using blueprints. Now, I don't hate using blueprints because these are amazing, and like I said last time when I showed these two off already, there's really no reason to reinvent the wheel. However, it does feel kind of... well, it almost feels like cheating not making them myself, and that's really something that I have to get over, but they are amazing, so I ended up using them, and it does give me a chance as well to kind of shout out some other creators and some blueprints on the workshop, which you might not have heard of yet, and that's a really cool thing to do as well. So these Boulder Roller and Shooting Stars are both made by Kinetic. I'll put the codes on screen if you want to check them out. Just their entire workshop is just amazing. It's filled to the brim with stuff, along with the other Midway stuff we're going to look at in a bit. But showing these in a bit more detail. Stop shouting! Now, just showing these off a bit more than I did last episode, the detail in this is just amazing. Just this text alone, I don't know how he managed to keep it this consistent with the font size, because I haven't found a way to do that yet. All the details in the game itself, the prizes hanging from the roof, it's just amazing. So really go check them out if you're looking for a Midway game. Same goes for the Shooting Stars stand. It's the classic rip-off where you're probably not able to even get the star out, but it feels like you are, and that's how they make the money. And that's really the kind of stuff that I wanted to get in this area. So yeah, do go check those out on the workshop if you're looking to build a Midway yourself, because they are amazing, and there are so many more on Kinetic's workshop. So give it a look. Same goes for these Midway food stands, the pizza one and the cotton candy one. That's a bit further ahead. They are just so detailed, and like I said, I haven't managed to nail this style yet. For me, it can always get more detailed, but I don't know how and where to add it myself. So I'm working on that, but up until now, I haven't really been able to do it. So yeah, blueprints it is. You can see the difference clearly, I think, with this building, which I did make myself, that I don't know how to add detail without it looking too cluttered, and this is just... It's so detailed and cluttered, but it doesn't look bad, if you know what I mean. I can't really describe it, but yeah, we'll get to that building in a bit. But again, check them out on the workshop. Check them out on the workshop if you want Midway blueprints, because they are amazing. Now, quickly looking at the other Midway stand here with all the candy stuff. Behind that is actually the newly... well, I was going to say themed, but it's far from themed, Raket, which means rocket in Dutch. A few people suggested when I first showed this off that I would call it something along the lines of Raket or Raketbaan, which translates to rocket track, because it's such an old-timey, weird name that probably would have stuck with the people that came here as a child. I imagine this has been here since the... I don't know when Pinfari started making these, but very early on. And the people that now come here with their kids were probably kids themselves when this was newly installed and was touted as the biggest, highest roller coaster. And you had to be the biggest daredevil to go on this. And now it's just an old rickety ride, which still holds its place in the park and has kind of gained the classical status. Now, I did add a lot of this. I got the fence through to this side as well, just to close off the queue area, and I've kept the queue really unthemed and basic. I imagine that this is the area that they don't want to spend money on anymore because it's so old, but they also don't have the money yet to replace it completely. So what they've done over the years is they've probably maybe recolored the supports a bit and added these awnings because people were complaining about the sun and stuff like that. But other than that, it's just really unthemed and raw. They had to comply with safety regulations, so they had to put this mesh fencing here. Even though it's ugly, they didn't care because, well, we have to. The queue as well, it doesn't have like fancy digital signage. It just says from here on out it's about 30 minutes, give or take. Take it or leave it. And then you enter the station and it's more of that, just canopies and simple structures to kind of cover it from the rain and do nothing more. I really like this little thing where the support was coming through and was actually hitting the structure. And this is a support that was put in by Jan, its original creator. So I just added a few flanges to make it look like it was, well, not meant to be there, but it was at least installed properly. But yeah, they were probably just completely annoyed by the fact that this had to be here for structural reasons. And now it's still there. So it's little detail I enjoy. Now I did also add a little bit of theming, so to speak, over there at the pre-lift section. We'll get a better look at that once we're walking through the rest of the Boardwalk. But that's basically there to just, well, spice up the pre-lift section, which right now isn't, which might be one of the most boring parts of the ride. And also as a way for them to keep both trains dry when it's not in operation. So one of them would be sat in the station and one of them would probably be sat under that canopy there, because this coaster doesn't have a transfer track or anything like that. Now, I can't leave through here, I have to leave through here. Leaving the Raket, in front of the station there's actually a little photo op, which I really like. I did one of these as well, and in the main street right around the corner. Which was just a sign, and for this one I wanted to add some props and make it physical. I have strayed away a bit from using user media just because it's hard to transfer that. People have been asking if I'm going to upload this park to the workshop. Yes, I am, and I'm also going to try to release some of the buildings and rides as separate blueprints before I upload the entire park. So keep your eyes open for that. But when I do upload this to the park, you're not going to be able to get all the media that I have on my computer for the screens. So if you download it, it's just going to be empty. So what I want to try and do is use less screen media unless it's like really adding to the experience. So that those of you playing on console can also just download this park and have at least the most similar experience that can be had. And I think I tried that mostly with this sign, where I didn't just use a screen and added a Photoshop thing, but I genuinely used in-game props and in-game pieces to make this photo op. Now, across from the photo op, there is a little hook a duck stand, which again, made by Kinetic, really detailed and really rounds off this area nicely. Next to that are two things. This is the wave spinner. Why is it called wave spinner? Because I wanted to give it the most cliche, stupid boardwalk name I could think of. The theming on this one is something summer related. Basically the resort theme from the game. You can see that on the chair swing itself, I've put all the different decals that the game provides in the resort theme. And I've just given it a surfboard sign which said wave spinner. This was probably never given a name before it was on this boardwalk area. It was just the chair swing, and they felt like they had to give it a name to keep it different, so they did that over the years. Again, I've kept the theming on this quite plain. Resort, just a giant entrance sign, and then you're walking along and going up to the ride platform, which does give you a little look as well at the tornado, which we're going to get to in a bit, which has been really themed a lot more than it was when I last showed it to you. So yeah, then you just enter the ride platform, and after you're done, you exit through here. Now, before heading towards the tornado over there, I quickly want to take you through this little building. A lot of boardwalks have like one big building that houses most of its facilities. Now, I didn't have a place to have like a giant concert hall or something like that, but I did feel like it needed at least one permanent building that wasn't just there, plopped down, and didn't care about. So this was probably an older building that's been there for a while and has been refit for multiple purposes over the years. Right now it houses an arcade because, well, you can't go wrong with an arcade on a boardwalk, I guess. It's really just mandatory that you have one. And again, a lot of blueprints, because I don't have the detailed abilities to do this kind of stuff. Now, I believe all these machines that are here are made by Josh on the workshop. Again, code on the screen right now. And they're just amazing, the detail work that's gone in them. And you can also activate a few of them. So if you click here, you can hear it whistling and it'll stop. And I don't know how this game works, but it's the whistle stop. So yeah, there you go. And same goes for this one. You can spin the wheel and see what you land on. Stuff like that. Again, just like the interactive element I did in the western area, really makes it fun to walk around this park. So when I saw he had made a few of those as well, I just had to have them in here. And I stole a bunch of the clutter from the workshops and the Midway games to fill out the price counter here in the corner. Now, this is called Jupiter Josh's Arcade, as a kind of nod to the creator of all these machines. And also because I wanted to get the sci-fi/space theme in here somewhere. And after everybody told me that star panels are actually in the game, I ended up using them here as well. So thank you everyone for pointing that out to me, that I was just blind and not looking well enough for them. Now, adjacent to that arcade is a Chief Beef. Now, I've put Chief Beef himself here on the front because this area feels kind of empty without guests walking around. He's just there to greet guests and lure them into the restaurant, I guess. I went with a pretty basic design. Realistically, there'd probably be like the self-service kiosks here, where you can just touch what you want and you can grab it off the... that was kind of creepy. And you can just grab it off the counter. They were like waving in sync. Oh, they are completely in sync. Well, that's a good team, isn't it? Here I did use a bit of screen media again. These are temporary. I just nicked these off of Google Images. I'm not sure if I'm going to try and do this with in-game text or not. I did do the back here, 100% beef guaranteed by Chief. I'm guessing that's their tagline or something. I just needed something to fill out the back here. And then it has a bunch of seats and a little decor that a bunch of Burger Kings around my area have as well, where it's just the white walls and just random wood stuff on the walls. There are also a few toilets here in the corner, and outside there are a few dining booths as well. Now, I haven't shown it, but there are a lot of picnic tables in this area to kind of fill out the empty spaces here. After finishing the layout and being quite happy with it, I did notice that there was a lot of empty room. Now, that is slightly fixed once guests are in the park, which they aren't right now because that would run my FPS down to like 10, and it isn't great, mind you, already. So there are no guests here this time, but yeah, I wanted to fill some stuff out, so I added the booths everywhere, added the photo op, just to add some little details and smaller attractions, so to say. Now, coming back to Tornado, whose sign looks really bad from that far away. There we go. I gave it a station. I gave it some theming in the lightest sense of the word. This coaster is just a classic in this park. It's been here probably even longer than Raket has. And again, as with Raket, it's just been given a few canopies to hide from the sun, and that's about it. Now on this side, I knocked out a few boards of this wall, or what's it called? Barricade, schutting in Dutch. I don't know what the English word is. So people could have a look at the coaster coming by here in its initial pre-lift section. But yeah, the queue again, it's just a lot of concrete, a lot of metal. It's practical, not pretty. Same with this fencing, just the chicken wire fencing to keep people out of where they shouldn't be. They're not going to theme this stuff. Now, you can see that this is quite close to the parking lot, and that was intentional because I really wanted to have a parking lot coaster as well. And that lift hill, which you can't see right now because of the tree, does really loom over the parking lot and provide a bit of a, well, I don't want to say the word, weenie when you're coming into the park and looking at stuff. Again, with the theming, by the way, I've kept it basic Boardwalk stuff, just some posters, just some random things that they've put up over the years because, oh, now we're doing a Boardwalk theme. Well, fine, let's just surf or something. Now here I've actually extended the station building to include a transfer track. I was inspired by, I think it was Troja Toverland, which has this, where towards the end you just pass through a building. The track is genuinely next to you. You can see it because they didn't bother to hide it. And this is just for the places where, when it's needed, you do some maintenance on the coaster car and stuff like that. It was basically made to just be practical and not pretty, so I copied that here as well. Now the station kind of follows the same theme as the rest of the area, where it's a lot of wood, a lot of practical stuff. I'll have to admit I am not sold on this station yet. I wanted to get something that feels low budget and unfinished, but this is too unfinished. I've kind of shot myself in the foot there. It's fine, and especially from the outside, because it isn't in full view, it's fine, but it doesn't really fit what I was going for. Maybe I'll have to redo the coloring on the planks, or redo the walls entirely, add some more stuff, or remove some stuff. I'm not sure. But I'm not entirely sold on it yet, but it is there, and it is providing shelter for the tornado. Now, as for tornado, I did do a little bit of retracking, and I also added, I don't know if that was in the last episode, yes or no, but I added the logo to the front and back. Again, really old and vintage, the yellow and blue stuff that's faded over the years. Probably they had to market it some way, and this was their best option. Now, hopping over to the parking lot, I did actually add some stuff to the coaster itself as well. I added this sign here, because old-timey coasters often had their name like plastered on the side, especially Boardwalk coasters. But just look at this lift hill looming over the parking lot, hearing the clicking noise of it going up. It's just amazing. I did retrack it a bit. As you can see, the coaster now comes back along the entire lift hill instead of cutting through it. After the mid-course brake run, I added a little extra section that loops around the main turn there behind the trees, just to give it that extra bit of length and duration. Also because a lot of Boardwalk coasters or olden wooden coasters have that classic like out and back layout, where they loop around themselves a bit before heading back to the station. I also started adding the park fencing, which again, cheap stuff, just some wooden boards and keep out signs, and probably a lot of security cameras to make sure people don't do stuff they're not supposed to do at night. Here you also have a view of the transfer track building. Now, I feel like putting some posters here, because knowing this park, they probably see this as free real estate to advertise. But I don't know, it feels kind of charming to just have this building here, and it's not an ugly building from this side, in contrary to the like giant show building of Artemis. So I might just leave it like this. I don't know, it has this kind of quirky charm where they probably want to hide this, but they couldn't. They weren't able to, so they just left it in full view. Now I can't easily show you this from the path, so I've gone into free cam for a bit, but I also added this little canopy across the mid-course brake run. Again, inspired by most boardwalks, which have that like classic tent canopy. I think there was one piece in, I think it might be Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. It's just this weird little tent piece, which I wish I had it here because it would have been perfect. But yeah, just something to cover the mid-course brake runs. And provide a little interactive elements for the guests riding it as well. Now, back in the station itself, you can see that the exit path just takes you backstage and behind this building. This is all really ugly and really stuff you wouldn't want guests to see in any other area. But for this area, I think it just adds to the jankiness of it. This is a staff area. There'd probably be clutter here as well, like just random stuff they've left around. And yeah, you can see it. We don't have the option to hide it, so let's just put it on view. Same with this, just add a poster and done with it. And that takes you back out on the boardwalk. Now, moving on to this area, I added some temporary stuff here, and I also added a little lore in that corner. Now, this skee ball machine was actually by Josh instead of Kinetic. the same person who did the arcade machines in Jupiter Josh's Arcade. Again, upselling, that's the entire point of this area. People wanting to win gifts like, I don't know what he's called, but this person's head and stuff like that. Just spending money, not caring. And I've noticed that there's a railing here, which shouldn't be. I'll fix that before you see it again. Now, on the other side here, there's just a few picnic benches, again, filling out the area. But this has another reason as well. If you take a look here, you can see a sign that says, here we're working on a new addition to Polderpark. But you can also see that there's some stuff here that's left in the bushes. Now, I imagine that there was once a ride here, but it just got too costly to keep it around. Maintenance probably started adding up, so they removed it. But they haven't put anything back yet. And in the meantime, they've just added a few picnic benches here to fill out the path and added a sign that says, hey, we're working on something, which I can already spoil. They're not going to be doing anything before we finish this park. But it does add a bit of a lore reason to this little area as well. And if anything else, it provides a nice view of Tornado rushing there in the background. That double up really does look like an element that would be very forceful in real life. But yeah, just the white coaster in the background really does sell the Boardwalk vibe, and it was the reason I wanted to make a Boardwalk in the first place, and I think it really found its place in that sense. Now, the last thing about the Boardwalk is this little sign, which does seem quite similar to the first one. However, on this side, it's the Chief Beef Boardwalk, and you can see that I've themed the letters themselves as well with the red and blue. It's also the reason that the planters are red and blue, actually. When I started building this, I wanted to find a way that I could make this more tacky. And what way to make something more tacky? By having it sponsored. So I thought, why not try and make it seem like this entire area has been sponsored over the years. There was a company that wanted some kind of deal with the park. So they said, you know what, slap your logo on this area. We'll paint some stuff red and blue, and it's fine. Now, I was doing this, I had the Chief Beef mascot video on these screens, but there's still the bug where if you have two videos playing next to each other, they keep unmuting themselves. So Chief Beef was shouting in my ear the entire day while I was building this. So I removed that. And also on the other side, it felt kind of too tacky having the Chief Beef logo on top of there. But I didn't feel like letting it go entirely yet. So there is still a part of me that might want to turn this into the Chief Beef Boardwalk. And if not, I'm going to keep at least this lettering color on this side as a sort of bygone era where the Chief Beef probably had his boardwalk here at some point. The deal ended, but instead of entirely retheming it, they just took down the Chief Beef logo itself and kept the rest. Behind the Chief Beef Boardwalk arch is actually the entrance to the next area we're going to be making, and I've already added its main superstar. Now, this coaster doesn't have a name yet, this area doesn't even have a theme yet, but I really want your help on deciding what this stuff is going to look like. Now, I added this Vekoma launched coaster. Again, I wanted to try and get a lot of Vekoma stuff in here, because it's a Dutch company, and in the history of the company, they have used Wallaby Holland, which was Six Flags Holland for a brief period of time, as kind of their testing ground. New stuff, new models, they would plop them down in Wallaby, see how they'd work, get some experience, and then a few years later they'd start selling them to the rest of the world, because people were able to see what kind of stuff they'd made. And I like to think that they have the same kind of arrangement with Polderpark, where their newer models, they'll put one down in Polderpark, see how it fares, use it as a kind of, well, show ride, so they can show other parks like this is what we can build. Great, right? So I wanted to try and get a lot of Vekoma stuff in here. Now, this coaster is probably a newer addition to the park. It's a new gen Vekoma launched coaster. I'm not an expert on them. My coaster nerd knowledge kind of stops at the Intamin, B&M, and Vekoma era. and the newer stuff just isn't fresh in my mind, but I do know a bit about it. I wanted to try to make this seem like a bit of a budget-friendly coaster, even though it is a really good coaster in my opinion, and I really like the layout. The way I kept doing that is by keeping the coaster quite low to the ground. So as you can see, it only really has 2 or 3 high points. This one, the top hat there, and other than that, it kind of sticks to the terrain and weaves its way around. Now, I've also dug this for one quite down because I wanted to kind of mimic Nemesis's feel at Alton Towers, where it's this coaster that almost stalks you through the area. It just pops up once in a while. It dives over and under you, and I really wanted to mimic that with this place. Now, the way I've built this, I have kind of gotten myself in a corner with the pathing that's going to go around here. Oh, just look at this view. Amazing. The pathing that goes around here is going to be quite difficult because there really isn't much space in between the different pieces of track to put paths. But I love the layout and I love the way it looks. And yeah, I have a few bits of room left which I might use. Now, I'm quickly walking this queue just to show you a bit more of the ride. I'm not gonna give you a full POV yet, just because I'm not done with this, I think. But it does have a few really cool elements that I've, well, I'll be honest, nicked from other coasters, and added in here just as a sort of amalgamation of my favorite stuff. The coaster actually launches straight out of the station, not entirely in I think it was Mr. Freeze, the one that just yoinks you out of the station immediately. This kind of has a more of a slow burn, but it does start from the station itself, and it goes into the top hat, and then it just starts that like low to the ground, almost stalking vibe. It houses 4 inversions, and it has a lot of elements such as this outward banked curve. I'm sideways airtime hill. I am far behind on my terminology, but I saw this element and I thought it was cool, so I wanted to add it. And a few of the hardline rolls as well, or at least some sort of a drawn-out horseshoe roll, I guess. I'm not sure what to call it, and I'm also not sure what to theme this ride to. Now, I have a few ideas, and I wanted to get your opinion on those, but I want to preface this by saying that if you have any other ideas, if you're seeing this and like, Joe, you have to theme this to this specific stuff because it really fits with this and it's not on your list yet, please leave it in a comment below because I'm really open to suggestions. I've just jotted down a few of my ideas while I was building this. Now, turning around, wabam, here's my little blackboard. Ignore this. This is, I don't know why that's still there, actually. To make noise, apparently. Now, my blackboard houses a few of the themes I was thinking of. Theme 1, or A, the Toxic Valley. I was inspired by the Toxicator at Alton Towers, which is a new topspin they've added recently to their, I think it's in the X sector area, right? I think it is. And I was like, what if we draw that out completely? So it is a bit of X sector, but more focused on the, well, toxic goo or sludge that was going to be there. Bit of a sci-fi theme. I'll probably want to fill a lot of the lower areas of the terrain work with water and maybe color it green or yellow to kind of sell that toxic sludge vibe. And there's going to be ruined science stuff there, ruined laboratories, ruined buildings. It's going to be really science fiction, but it's also going to be slightly worn down. Now, option B, for me at least, are the forest ruins. With Evershore, my Planet Coaster 1 project, I started making a new area before I had to cut the project short, which was kind of themed to this Lost Woods kind of stuff. Slightly fairy tale, but mostly just, well, it's all overgrown, it's all ruined, wooden shacks, maybe even castles or stone buildings, and the coaster has a really nice layout to kind of soar through those. I could add a lot of ruins beneath the track or around the track, I think, that it could soar through and kind of have a well, the head chopper interactions with. So that was a really cool idea, I thought. And the last option I had written down was, well, I called it Dusty Motors because I had to think of something, which was kind of inspired by Wallaby's newest edition, Speed Zone Off-Road, which is an extension to their Speed Zone, which is a kind of racing themed area. But that was themed more towards the almost Mad Max style of racing, so it's a lot of sand, a lot of dust, a lot of grays and well, beige, yellows, stuff like that. Mostly themed to speed. Now, the coaster itself right now is red, so completely look through that, please. It can turn any color we want. But those were the three options I was thinking of. Again, if you have other ideas, please do let them know, because this is really not set in stone yet. Apart from the place where the coaster is, because I have done a lot of the terrain work already. This area is going to extend a bit towards that side, and we're probably going to add 2 or 3 flat rides to them. Maybe I'll even keep this here, now that I think of it. Theme it to the same stuff this is themed to. But the coaster is going to be the main part of this area, and it is going to interact with the paths the most as well. So yeah, give me your ideas for theming, give me your feedback on my ideas, please. If you like them, if you're thinking, wow, this completely sucks, let me know. I'm glad to hear everything. And then this is what we're going to be working on in the next episode. So for now, this is already dragging on to be a long one. Thank you so much for watching. Let me just leave you with this little overview of the big wheel. There we go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again next time. I hope to also be able to crank that episode out a bit faster than this one. I've been really busy over the past few weeks, so I haven't done the most stuff, but hey, at least there's something worth showing. And next week, or maybe the week after that, we'll see you again with another episode of Polderpark. So, till then, bye-bye.